Good morning, bird absolutely not nerdy whisperers. Today I'm exploring Bear Creek Nature Park, which is this beautiful, mainly broadleaf forest just near the town of Oyster River, a little south of Campbell River, maybe half an hour from my house. One of the reasons I picked this place today is because unlike some of the forests I've birded in recently, this is mainly a broadleaf forest. It's kind of early successional red alder and big leaf maple, and so I thought that'd give a little bit different habitat than some of the more coniferous dominated habitats I have explored recently. Now today my target species is black-headed grosbeak. This is a species I've never seen before, so I'm happy to have a chance at getting a lifer. They have been recorded recently on eBird. I am familiar with the related rose-breasted grosbeak, beautiful bird, but I'm excited to maybe get a chance to see this new species. They seem to be associated with broadleaf habitats, and so I might be in the right spot. Bear Creek is a tributary of the Oyster River. The river is just over here beside me, so I'm gonna check that out and just explore the area. It's not a huge area, so I'm just gonna take my time and enjoy the birds. We're at the end of May here. Birds are back, they're singing, they're on their territories doing what they do, and this is just my favorite time of the year for birding. So come along with me, let's see this beautiful green forest, and let's see some cool birds. So just on the edge of the parking lot, you can set up and look into the canopy. So after setting up on the edge of the valley, I got this pretty good view of a Pacific slope flycatcher, which is a pretty sweet little bird. Seeing them was a lifer for me at the start of this spring. They are quite an abundant bird here on Vancouver Island. We also have Hammond's flycatcher. You can tell this is a Pacific slope flycatcher because of its song and also the tear-shaped eye ring it has. There's kind of that white projection that comes off of its eye ring at the back of its eye. They seem pretty common here in both mixedwood and deciduous stands, and you often see them near water, whether it's the edge of a wetland or along a creek. I often see them perched pretty high up, and so by being on this hilltop and looking into the canopy, I got a pretty great view of them, looking at them at the same level, rather than kind of looking up at the bird from below. It's fun to watch their foraging technique, which is known as hawking or flycatching. With this feeding behavior, they basically sit on a perch and they fly out to catch an insect on the wing before returning to the same or a nearby spot. I know many of you hate mosquitoes, horseflies, other biting insects, and so you can thank the flycatchers for keeping their populations in check. Rainy May here on Vancouver Island, and you can see that the plants have benefited. The understory is just extremely large and lush right now. Flower in bloom is vanilla leaf. It's got these leaves, either 4 or 3 leaflets, and then this is the flower. I believe this is oak fern, which is a species I don't see too much. And here's the Oyster River. This is a gorgeous wetland. We don't have a lot of wetlands actually in this area, so it's cool finding one. There's a couple Wilson's warbler singing from this swamp. I spent quite a bit of time watching these Wilson's warblers forage along the wetland. I'd say they're one of the more common warbler species here on Vancouver Island. Basically any forested area where there's lots of shrubs and maybe a wetter ground, stream sides, swamps like this, or even just moist forests, you'll often see them. You have to admire the energy of these birds. They just never stop moving. And so I was happy to get a few shots here where they seem to be resting and contemplating life for a moment or two before continuing on their frantic ways. Wilson's warbler have one of the best hairdos of the bird world. It's sort of a slick back, 50s greaser look, or maybe a bad toupee. I spent quite a while just watching them, and it was one of the highlights of that morning. In my last video, I saw an olive-sided flycatcher, but it was from a few hundred meters away. Here's one. He's at this very tall tree, but you can hear the diagnostic quick 3 beers call. Here in Canada, olive-sided flycatcher are a species at risk. They're ranked as threatened, which is the second highest level of protection. It's always interesting seeing a species at risk. I saw some other interesting birds of that wetland, including this female Rufous hummingbird, which was taking a moment to stop and rest and have a gander at me. I don't think she was too impressed. There was also the ever-evasive Swainson's thrush. This is the sort of stand I'd imagine black-headed grosbeak would hang out in. One interesting thing, I started hearing warbling vireo and Pacific slope flycatcher about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and now they are one of the most abundant species in these forests. Guess it means there's lots of bugs to eat. I really like warbling vireos. Their song is just very pleasant to listen to, and I hear it quite a bit here on Vancouver Island. I'd say right now in the middle of the breeding season, they are probably one of the most abundant songbirds. You do hear them mostly in deciduous stands, and that's probably why they were so abundant that day in Bear Creek. So here's Bear Creek. So it's a spawning tributary for coho salmon. So up ahead, I believe I heard a black-headed grosbeak. The common way to describe their song is a robin that has taken singing lessons. A little more warbly than a robin song. Actually might have moved on a little bit, but I'm gonna just take my time in this area. There's lots of yellow warbler along the river. Always a sweet bird. When I was approaching the river, took some time watching these yellow warbler. Yellow warbler are one of my favorite species. They really are just an embodiment of joy with their song and bright color. I love the way this warbler was foraging so frantically throughout the canopy, looking a little bit crazy. I managed to get pretty close to a couple of the other warblers when it seemed like they were kind of resting and not moving as much. Yellow warbler have been around for quite a few weeks now, but you really just can't take them for granted. So I just saw the black-headed grosbeak. I'm on the side of the river now, and it was singing in a tree. I had an obstructed shot, and I was just trying to set up the camera when another bird, probably another grosbeak, came in and flushed it off, and it crossed to the other side of the river. Well, there's a spotted sandpiper right there. I'm gonna go get that. The spotted sandpiper has just crossed the river on those rocks. So as I was saying, black-headed grosbeak, lifer. Now I just want to get some footage of it. Beautiful bird. This used to be an agricultural site, so there is a lot of early successional red alder, which I think the grosbeak seem to like. There's a couple Muskoka chairs here, and you know, I think it's good just to soak it in and enjoy this beautiful spot. And hopefully those grosbeak will come back. There is some rapids here, so it's kind of hard to hear a little bit, but I think I do hear them somewhere across the way. So hopefully they'll come back and I'll get a shot. But regardless, lifer. So after chilling in the comfortable Muskoka chair for quite a bit, the black-headed grosbeak did come back to my side of the river. They allowed me to get some footage of them, both a male and female. They let me admire them for a while, but they did seem pretty wary and watched me closely. But when you're already sitting still, it's easy to just enjoy wildlife around you and not scare them off. Reading about their biology, one thing that's pretty interesting is both males and females will incubate the eggs, defend the territory, and help feed the young. So it's very much a cooperative breeding arrangement. I think this male was carrying some nesting materials in this shot. So there we go. Got a little bit of footage of the black-headed grosbeak. Nothing too crazy, but I'm happy to get it on camera. It seems like it is defending territory on both sides of the river, which is interesting to think about. Given songbirds use their voice to defend territory, attract mates, it makes you think about the auditory complexities of nesting or breeding next to a river. It's obviously very loud. There's a couple of rapids here. And so maybe he has to kind of hop back between the edges of his territory. And so that might be a cost of setting up in a territory like that. Doing a little search, I did find some recent research about this. So these researchers were studying spotted towhee and lazuli bunting. They found that as background noise increased, it took birds longer to detect and react to the calls of other individuals that might be their competitors. So there's definitely a cost associated with nesting in these noisy environments. But given that rivers are these productive ecosystems, maybe the benefits outweigh the costs. So after losing track of the grosbeak on the other side of the river, I haven't heard it for about 30 minutes or so. So I'm gonna start walking back. But I gotta say, Bear Creek, this is an amazing spot. There's an incredible mix of habitat, which is really something that I look for in a great birding spot. One interesting thing is that it was actually owned by University of British Columbia before it was purchased by a private landholder. And then I think in around 2010, it was acquired by the regional district with the helps of Ducks Unlimited, and now it is stewarded by the Oyster River Salmon Enhancement Society. I just think it's a cool example of groups working together to have shared positive outcomes for different aspects of nature. Songbirds, waterfowl, salmon, they can all kind of fall under the same umbrella. I'm just taking the trail back to the car. This follows the river. Well, I'm back at the parking lot now. That was a great morning of birding. Any day you set out to see a target species that's a lifer and you catch it is a good day. Bear Creek is a beautiful place, and despite it being a long weekend, there's not many people here, so maybe a bit of a hidden gem. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, throw me a thumbs up, and until next time, happy birding everyone.